Hi, this is David with EV World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock market. Today is our Friday stock trading show, and I'm joined in the studio with Adib Khaldi. How you doing, Adib?
Good, David. Thanks so much for having me again. We
All
missed
right.
last week, and here we are again.
Yeah, it seems sometimes Fridays can be a challenge to get the show together, or one or the other of us have something going on. Either you're traveling or I'm traveling. It's not always, something simple. Anyways,
It's
so
always a
let's
good
go
time
ahead.
when we get together.
Oh, it is, and it does seem like we've been going about every other week, but we'll
Yes,
try to make it a little bit more relevant. Why don't we go ahead and
absolutely.
just take a look at SPY, just kind of as a
Sure.
warm up today? It'll be a little different than what
Let
we
me go
started
back
out
to
with. Just
yeah.
see
Let
where
me go
the
back to my basic
market's going.
charts. hmm Let me just go back to my.
But I just surprise you with doing something a little different.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I have a special account for the show so that we can always keep track of everything we put out.
Nice.
Yeah, just give me 1 second here. Should have been more prepared, but I believe this is the one. Let's look at the charts. How about the EV world? It's had some ups and downs in the last couple of weeks.
I think there's always going to be there's always people trying to discredit the EV industry. And I think they're fools. I think that when you look at people like Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, obviously Elon Musk, and a few others that are putting so much money into the EV space, the Saudi royals, I just think that they're probably smarter investors than a lot of the rest of us. And I think it's really hard not to give them some credence when it comes to, knowing what's going on. And so I wouldn't go betting against Buffett. Yeah, I
Mhm.
certainly wouldn't be going betting against, Bezos. So I think we're really seeing,
Sometimes,
some real,
sometimes they offload on the market though, and they take their profits. Not all the time. These
no,
a lot of these guys are traditional value investors, and they buy trade. Just went long on America for the last 30 years, and nobody ever lost going long on the U.S. market. Again, S&P 500. We're gonna pull up the chart here and show you guys. But it doesn't take a genius or any type of crazy charting abilities to be able to see this tremendous chart. The S&P, when you look at it, and by the way, somewhere's around here, this last local bottom, we
yeah,
did announce, we actually seen it happening. But when we look at this monstrous run since back in 2020 of COVID, you can see that it's very very easy to just create some form of uptrend through here, and let me just go on a weekly basis and start creating where I see some downsides could be. And as of the most recent one, we have some form of uptrend here and another form of uptrend here. Oopsies. And we're getting really close here. I mean, actually, it would be more something like this. So the stock market right now is, in my opinion, in a discovery mode from a technical perspective. So the S&P 500, many people had thought, and myself, I'll be honest with you, I was somebody who shorted just around here back in the end of 21. We caught the whole move down, but the stocks remained bullish. The big, five and the big 10, the fangs have all been really, really robust in performance. They're all, hitting $1 trillion market caps at this point. Nvidia's are $2 trillion market cap. I mean, these are more than whole countries and economies combined as private U.S. companies. So it's definitely roaring, and the Federal Reserve became very dovish in their last interest rate meeting. which makes me believe that excuse me, which makes me believe that you know the market has some more legs to go. And Yeah, that's really where I'm at. Am I going to call a top on the stock market the greatest machine of all time? Nope, not right now. But is there areas that we
They're
can
talking about
recall?
A
Yes.
possible June rate
As
cut. There's talk of a possible
Yeah,
June
yeah,
rate
I would
cut.
say so. I mean, yeah, it's very possible, and that would very much so keep this uptrend going. So again, I don't like to speculate too much on the S&P. I like to more so day to day kind of trade it. So what we would do is usually kind of look at different zones and try to catch it off guard or on upside and really ride it. And as of most recent, again, publicly on our channels, we cut somewheres around the 4100 on a long, and believe it or not, like that was really one of the lowest spots it's hit as of most recent. I didn't, in my wildest dreams, think we were going to break 4,800. I'll be honest with you, this run, but here we are at 52. So once it gets going, I just don't like to go against it. And as you can just see, very basic lines I draw, it's going to remain bullish.
Great, great. Yeah, well, let's hope it stays bullish. It's nicer to be in a bull run than a bear run, that's for sure. Let's go ahead. Now
Yeah.
we've never covered this. We've never covered Dell. Now Dell is starting to, because of their how much they're in the server field, they're starting to take some action, kind of like Supermicro is getting. So I thought we should just take a look at it because they're trading at like 1/3 the PE ratio of Supermicro. So I thought I'd like to have you take a look at that.
Hmm. Sure. So they're at 83 billion now, and they've hit their last multiple quarters, which is good. Clearly there's some form of uptrend here, but most stocks. If you're in the S&P 500 or you have exposure to index, you're usually finding yourself. With this recent rise in the market with just the S&P and index is doing minimum 30-35% since the start of this year. Really since must have been October or November when that 1100 4100 started on the bull run. The stock market is just it's a byproduct. A lot of these stocks, they're byproducts of indexes that they may belong to. So Dell, as we see Dell here, I see that there is some form of a breakout essentially that had occurred. Let me begin my drawing.
A month
It
ago.
was no, it was actually it was the signals would have been here's where the first signal would have been announced,
Okay.
and here's where I would have been beginning to look at Dell. And I believe right now it has really really done a great job um, in just continuing to break out. This has established a brand new zone around 85. And if we go on a micro level, I would say this extension over here, where there was quite a bit of exhaustion in buyers, creates a trading range that I like to kind of extend. And I'm going to create something like this around here, but it's very, very flimsy, more so in this direction. Where do I see Dell going, David? Higher. So it looks like it's really kind of cemented this uptrend. And anytime that you see there's a gap up in a stock on a particular event, in this scenario, March, as you said, their earnings here were quite a surprise in their EPS, beating by about 30%. So I don't know the full details, but as you said, there's some outperformance going on by Dell. I think it has something to do with also with the chips that they employ in their products. Is that what it is?
Well, they're just real big in servers. And
Yeah.
let's see, what's their PE ratio? 26. And we've been following Supermicro, which has been rocketing, and they're like 78. So they're exactly triple, they're 1/3 the PE of super micro, and that's where right now their growth is in the same space. So
Right,
I
I
mean,
understand. But due to their due to their just longevity, and due to them maybe being the bigger size or the super size, they just can't capture maybe the length of growth or the strength of the growth that these smaller PE or the higher PE companies will capture.
right,
But nonetheless, I mean, I do see a form of an uptrend here, just on kind of like the daily chart. I don't really like to go too deep into micro trading certain stocks, but like so just one point of my technical analysis is that upon this event here, when they beat in the market, yes, there was massive amounts of selling here that have occurred, but this gap up has somewhat kind of been contained. Whenever I see that there's a gap up and the gap comes back and fills this area over here, that signals weakness in the stock, because that means that whoever kind of created this event to make it go up here and
right,
still withstand any amount of selling has not been able to continue the momentum, and therefore the selling becomes absorbed in the area where the catalyst occurred, meaning the catalyst becomes null in a way, in a technical point of view. But as long as they maintain this gap up with a clear uptrend, then the stock should continue to go up for some time. As you can see here, if we realize back in August of 2023, it gapped up, but it didn't fill that gap, and that's what signaled strength on the stock. And as you can see, it came pretty close, but nowhere near $56. The lowest it got to was 64. So that was maintained. The integrity was there. Therefore, not much had to happen down here for it to continue higher. Here we're seeing the same kind of move, as you can see. Very close, very, very close move. So where do I see Dell going in the grand scheme of things? I think it'll trend higher. I don't cover it, but it looks good.
yeah, I just thought we'd pick that one because it's a little different. And we've been looking at some of these AI stocks, and Dell seem, with their strength in the server market, it seemed to make sense to add them to the list. All
Well,
right.
absolutely.
Why
I
don't we
mean,
go?
data centers are huge now. I'm sure you know, and all that's going on in the world. I mean, the more computing power you can supply, the more money you can earn, just because of how fast technology is advancing, and AI is really taking over.
So just because we were just talking about SMCI, let's go ahead and cover it next.
Hmm. Uh, SMC,
SMCI.
SMCI.
Oh, and they've broken 1,000.
Yeah, but look where it's kind of going to start getting contained here, more so on a downtrend. Last time we covered them, I don't know. I'm looking to look at last week's, so let's see where we are. Here's where we were, and we covered them, I think, around here. That's when we started to kind of draw out a projection. So it would have been about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and it's looking close, right? As you can see here, you're seeing kind of the uptrend just kind of hit a wall, and some consolidation is going to happen. It might come back and settle down around the $700 mark. I just don't see it advancing higher. Now, if it creates some kind of influx action just above here, then this company is a super company, and I need to look at it more. It's a $60 billion company. I haven't really covered it. Supermicro Computer, I've heard about it on your show. But that would be just some insane parabolic actions really in the last 4 months. You cannot deny it. If we look at a 3 month chart here, um, you know, it hit something like a 255% gain in just a 3 month period. That is quite significant, and when we're talking in mega caps and in the billions of dollars. So uh, where do I see it going? Well, this is what we drew out a couple of weeks ago. Let's stick to our predictions. I think, like I said, it's hit a wall, and if I was to take a position, probably I would take on the short side, maybe at around $1,000. And let me just run it on my model here real quick, just to make sure we don't misread it. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of power. It's going to take a lot of volume here, in my opinion, guys. Following pretty much early sell off, fill off the gap here, and then back again. It's going to take a lot more volume than this day, whatever catalyst had occurred on these 2 days, to fill above 1165. So where would I short the stock? Probably 1100, and it's down in the after hours, as you can see here, through $13.26, which signifies 1.3%. So that $1,000 strike price would be in the money on a put right now. Would I recommend it? Probably not. I don't really know this stock too much. Like I said, if they do some catalyst in terms of, I think I just moved that. But if I do some catalyst, I think it was something like this. Well, that moved, but you get the picture. If they do get some insane kind of catalyst, David, then yes, it will go up. But I don't see anything coming up, and yeah, that's where we are with super microcomputers. They're microchips, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Well, they're
Yeah.
they're building servers for data centers, just
Yep.
like we were talking about. That's why I kind of wanted to go
I
into
mean,
this one because that
I
insane
mean,
PE ratio.
extraordinary gain.
I mean,
Yeah,
you look at
absolutely
that
insane PE ratio,
78
and
PE ratio. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? I'm
yeah,
always
that is
just
crazy.
wondering. It's like, when a
70,
company's
but
priced at
70,
78
but
years profits.
no, I understand. But what's Nvidia's PE ratio? It's probably the same. No,
Let's see. I'm checking. It's at 75.
75. It's not the same. I'm telling you. That's tech. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
well,
tech.
that's why
That's
I'm
where.
wondering if Dell is horribly undervalued right now. That's why I wanted to
But
look at
maybe
Dell,
Dell
just
doesn't.
because
Maybe.
it's only
Yeah.
at 1/3 the PE ratio of these other two.
Well, Dell doesn't have too much significance here in showing the. I mean, yes, just data centers. That's yes, and there's infrastructure group, which is servers and centers and storage and hardware. Yes, maybe they're lacking in terms of actual manufacturing or innovation or production of GPUs and CPUs and actual chips. And I would assume that's one of the uh, one of the reasons these other companies have such a high PEs, because they're more so in manufacturing and innovation, and Dell is more so in actual employment and services of these products.
All right.
In my opinion.
Well, let's go ahead.
But I don't
Oh,
cover these stocks. But
so
I mean,
while you're looking
hopefully
at
we're reading them right for you so far. Yeah.
while you're looking at Nvidia, let's go ahead and keep taking a look at Nvidia, since you were pulling it up.
Nvidia. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I'm
Nvidia.
kind of going off the screen or it's not exactly the order that I have all the stocks in the title. I do usually try to keep them in that order, but we'll be switching over to the EV stocks
Well,
after this one.
Nvidia could be an early signal here for me. I mean, if I was to stick by my guns here, I would look at the daily chart. The daily chart signifies, since we looked at it, some form of a top. Again, I tried to just draw like some idea of where I think it's going to go based on my analysis here. And I think I would more so add a little red line just a little bit around here. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. Somewhere's around here, and I would trade this downtrend right here. So I would be happy to. Hey, I'm not shorting the video. So any of my viewers here, don't short the video. Okay, you don't want to short hyperbolic $2 trillion company. You might get your ass handed. So sorry for my French, but like, don't do that. But if you were to, then you would short $950. I think we're gonna start seeing some weakness. I think it's gonna trend down again, just like super microcomputers. It's okay if you go to $1,000 in 3 months and you have a 400% rise, and you fall down to $600 and you're still up 200% or 300% for the year. That's okay. That just means that the buying was just a little too aggressive for the certain catalysts that are occurring. Now, are these catalysts going to continue? Yes and no, and depends on the economy and depends on how the Feds are going to be. If they're dovish and they price cut, then that's more, fuel for the market. And yes, you will see catalysts if companies are innovating. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, not just unfortunately, fortunately for the world and any participants like me and you and everybody around, if you bet on the United States, you will win most of the time. For the last 30 years, historically, you have won. So S&P 500 is roaring. We're at all-time highs. Couldn't be higher. NASDAQ is just so overextended. And, where's the signs of slowing down? Well, it depends on the Fed and where they take the US dollar. But I see that, there's flashing signs and a big drop can come very quickly. And I am not a perma bull. I am just observing the market. And if I see weakness, I'll take it. And right now in NVIDIA, there's weakness at 950 or $1,000. I would start, maybe positioning around there if you're looking for a short play.
So let's say I've been holding NVIDIA for a year. Think it's
Needs
time
to
to get out
take
of
some
it?
not time to get out of it, but take some profits.
Yeah.
Personally, as a trader myself, I would take profits. Now, I do have some long-term investments, and some of these long-term investments, because the markets do so good, go up like 200%, 300%. Well, my trader in me doesn't allow me to stay in at that 300-400%. Sometimes I'll sell half my position, or I'll sell 60 or 70%. The rest is riding for free, and
Right.
just let it
No,
be
I get
because
it.
it's long term.
Right.
It's long term. That's me being more opportunist. Now, somebody would rather argue with you and say, well, no, I bought Facebook and Tesla and Meta and Apple and Netflix and all these stocks at the lows, or when they first IPO'd at the $40 and $50. And look at them now; they're $500-$600 and are 70x or 50x or 20x. Yeah, kudos to you. Great, that's fantastic. But you don't, as a smart portfolio and financially literate individual, you don't full portfolio into any one stock, because the chances of the variability of it going at 10 bags or 100 bags are not as high as you think. So you want to always be risk averse and take some profits and leave the rest running forever. And if you leave some to your kids after 10 years and that you know small amount is worth so much, great. You don't need to have all of your portfolio in there. It's great to diversify. So, yeah, if I was to nibble here, David, I would go short on Nvidia, not decisively, but until its earnings report. I think
Okay.
until May 22nd here, you would take a short position.
Okay. All right. Let me see what else we've got for AI. The only other AI stock we've got is ISRG. So let's do ISRG.
Can we just talk about here, ISRG? All right. We looked
Where
at
did
this one
we
last
start?
time.
What was this at when we started covering it?
Yeah, I believe so. Somewhere's around there. I said consider support at 350, line in the sand. I don't know when you would have asked me about it, but it might have been potentially sometime in maybe February or
It's been no more
March.
than 6 weeks.
Can't.
Yeah, it's been this year. I know that.
Yeah. hmm Um, Uptrend. Like I said, I said like 350 is the line in the sand. I drew this out for everybody. So anywhere's, if you're buying above 350 here, you're doing okay. And I think it's going to continue its uptrend, in my opinion. ISRG.
This one is
Uptrend
doing AI
still.
surgical products.
Yeah, I mean, if I was to enter this stock today, I would buy it like 375, 380, just around, just a little over here. So maybe create some form of maybe kind of like this in a way. And yeah, that seems about right. So I would be buying around this trend line here. So anywhere's from 370 and above, this stock looks good to me. That's the only thing I can say. It is going to hit obviously a top somewhere soon. So don't expect a, you know, super micro computers event.
Right.
But, their PE is still techie. It's 880, $140 billion company, robotics, surgical assistance. These guys are going to do great, and this is just the start for the robotics industry and healthcare. And if you look at the healthcare industry, I mean, it's trillions of dollars. So, 141 billion is just a start. So, I mean, this company, like I said, I heard about this company back in early 2021, maybe 2020. They were doing excellent. They kind of came down to around 180 or 190. I remember we played them a little bit, took some positions, but didn't really hold too long. And um, it's done wonderful. And this one is one that I would recommend, from my opinion, as something that I would hold in like a long term portfolio. This is a great stock, and I think it's going to just continue going higher, despite maybe significant downturns. Like regardless of, I think the fundamentals on this stock are excellent. And surgery and robots sounds cool and exciting.
It does, doesn't it? It's got a
Yeah.
nice ring to it. You know, what is it? In the United States, there's like 200,000 people a year that die from medical errors, and maybe the robots won't kill people. Then again, maybe they will. Who knows?
Maybe they will, maybe they will, maybe they won't, and that's what we have to see. For me, I like everything that is innovative as long as it's in a controlled environment. The minute that it becomes outside of a controlled environment, you have those risks, and those risks are now born. I would avoid certain things like this, and that's just me. That's just my conservative mentality. I'm not all for robots, but if you're going to get a precision cut that's going to be better for you than maybe a doctor's hand, and it's 100% guaranteed, then why wouldn't you employ that?
Right, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to the EV sector. Let's go ahead and start with the big dog, Tesla.
Sure, Tesla. Well, look, I mean, we predicted her on your show, and here we are again. We're going to continue to look at the same chart. By the way, we this call that we made on our show, buy Tesla 155, 165. Then we kind of gave a call out, and I believe at the time Tesla was $162. We entered this call 180 at 162, so it's quite cheap, and we had about a week and a half or 2 weeks to go. As you can see, it really got caught where we wanted to buy, and we said this is the buy zone, and we
Yep.
bought it literally around here 162. Next week we were up to 177, 180. This week we went as high as 184, closed at 175. Nonetheless, the stock is up, conservatively about 12 or 13% since we got in. And by the way, David, these calls went up for 500%. Okay, they went up to
Nice.
$4.80 or something, or $5. Yep, and we exited around there, $4 or something. So it was pretty good overall. We put our money where our mouth is, and I usually, like I said, I won't give out a call unless I would take it. Otherwise, why would
I
I?
missed,
I'm
like I
going to give my
said, I
opinion
never
about
seem to be in the Discord when you guys call some of these.
it. Yeah. So I mean, but I said it right here on your show, and you
Right.
on Monday, you could have bought it on Tuesday, Wednesday. The crazy part is, we flipped it for 100% gain, maybe a little bit more. Then they dropped back down to as low as like a dollar, or 80 cents, or a dollar, and I bought them again, and that must have been on a Thursday after flipping them. And it opened again on this last Monday. I believe it was up like 6.5%, and we got our big bump again, and that was the day it went up 400% as well. So Tesla, where do I see it going now? Yeah, I think we called somewhat of a bottom. I think there's a little bit of resistance here around the $185 mark. But I think this is where you want to buy Tesla, for multiple reasons we've highlighted in your show previously. But I'll stick by my guns. and I'll say that the 155 to 165 zone is where I would be buying. Right now, obviously, I have some under the equity and obviously sold off those options. That option, today is the 29th, so it no longer stands. But if I was to look at another option, I would target the $200 zone. I think we're going to get a test of the $200 zone here in the next few weeks. I'm not quite as confident in the play yet. I think it might need one more week, but to brew. So maybe on your next show we'll action this call. But I think that this is the time to buy Tesla here. It's gotten beaten battered in the last little while, and it's sitting at 500 million. So it's time to see it regain a little bit of market dominance here around the $1 trillion market cap back a few months ago.
Right. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and let's see how it's trending against the rest of the EV stocks. Let's look at Rivian, RIVN.
Rivian has taken a beating, and I would say there are $15 calls for late April or May. Obviously, I'm trying to see something like action up here. As of last week, the lowest point last week was 1079. It did hit 1044, which I don't like to see, but it's regained a little bit above that lowest point of last week, which means it's teetering by literally like the inches. Where going? Let me look at my other model, but I would like to see it get caught up here to the $15 mark.
Did you move your mic? Adib, did you move your mic? Your audio got a little funny there for a second. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think so. It was weird. It sounded like you got farther away, and that was,
Yeah. So,
no worries.
Rivian. Let's take a quick look at the model here. Hey, Rivian is probably going to get ready to break out here. Okay, so I'm actually going to fix this for you a little bit. I'm going to create something like this where it's going.
Well, you said a couple of weeks ago the line in the sand was probably, or that was about a month ago, but the line in the sand was probably $10.
$10 is quite a line in the sand, man, because below this, it just loses a lot of key levels, and I'm not interested anymore. I really wouldn't.
They're one of those companies that I'd like to see.
Get involved.
And Bill and I talk about this a lot on our regular episodes of the show where we're talking about the news, but we think Rivian is one of those companies that one of the big three auto manufacturers ought to buy. This would be a really good company for them to take into their portfolio, whether it be Ford or Chevy. I'd hope Stellantis wouldn't buy them.
Absolutely.
I watched Stellantis destroy Jeep. I'm not real thrilled with it.
No, absolutely. No, I mean it's not that it's a brand new market. It's that it's a very competitive market in terms of first mover, especially in the EV world, in my opinion. And really, who you have behind you that is innovating these technologies. Tesla just ate up most of the market share, and now it's like, who's next? Rivian's doing okay. I think I haven't tested.
Oh, they're amazing. I mean,
yeah.
Consumer Reports says they're the most their owners are the most satisfied of any brand in the world.
That's cool. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, but they're not cheap vehicles. You're paying for what you're getting with them. But now they're coming out with this R2 that they announced a couple of weeks ago. And 2 weeks ago, when we did the show, it had just been after they'd done the announcement. I think we saw a little bit of a spike back up for a few days, and then it came back to where it's at now. But anyways, let's go ahead and let's move on to Lucid.
And we called the spike. If you recall, David, we called that spike.
Oh, yeah.
That was essentially, I think, around like $15 or $17. We caught it all the way up to 25, and that was it. That was the play. So let's go and look at the other ones. But look, I'll tell you something. I like Rivian here. I think Rivian's bottoming out, And I think around September, sorry, around April, May, it will be trending towards that $15 mark. I really don't see it. I don't see it collapsing more unless they really swap royally, David. So that's all.
Yeah, well, they're making good products, and unless they get some just really bizarre news, the CEO gets into a DUI, or or something like that. We've seen that. That's what happened to FUV on the Nasdaq. Their CEO got a DUI, and the stock just cratered. You know,
Oh
yeah,
man, that's terrible.
yeah, yeah.
That
Go
is
go
absolutely terrible.
figure. Yeah. Anyways, let's look at Lucid real quick. Or you already got it up there?
All right. Yeah, I got it up here. So Lucid is following essentially our very basic rough drafts of where we'd like it to see,
Hmm.
and it's at 285, not much higher than we like. Again, it's been in this downtrend that we drew up. And let me just make sure nothing has changed fundamentally here. But you know, it did get rejected on the daily, but it's holding on the weekly, which is I'm okay with this. Uh, Very same like line in the sandy type of behavior. You know, are you gonna let it falter below $2.50 where it has gone before? I don't know. That's a strong psychological area. When we said that we'd like to buy it, it pumped. I think you remember I've caught, the Lucid pump once or twice. So far, I more so like Lucid as a longer term play. I less want to trade it. When we first covered Lucid, we traded it on your show. But I Lucid personally. That's my opinion. And my outlook really is still somewhere around $5 May, maybe June. But leading up to the earnings report, I'd really like to see them, start to perform a little bit better and readjust to
So,
fill this gap over here. Uh, yeah,
are they still in your buy zone from 2 weeks ago?
yeah, absolutely. That's when I think what happened was you asked me about them sometimes around January, at the end of January, and that's when they were cratering. And I said, if you recall, this is a line that I drew here. So this was more so the bottom end line here, and our end point was $2.60. So I said, David, I think this is where we buy, but I can't be for sure why, because it's never been this low before. So does everybody capitulate harder, or have they already capitulated? Is it over? And that's what happened. We saw that it moved from $2.60 all the way up to $3.74. And I recall maybe getting on your show and saying, look, it's still looking good, but I'm just buying it more on equity longer term. I can't make a play on it. Well, where did it come back again? $2.60. And where's it bounced off of again? It's maybe just retesting this zone. Well, it's bounced off of $2.60 and up to 280. So where would I buy Lucid, everybody? $2.50 to $3. And we would hope that they innovate. They come up with some great, earnings beating reports. The last 2 quarters weren't great. Sorry, the last 2 of 4 quarters weren't great, and the last two have been. So we'll last, we'll play on the ladder here, and I like Lucid just for the fact
Okay,
that
good.
the backers are, a very very strong government. So
Yeah, well, it's interesting considering that we see the float everybody's trading, and we know that 60% of it's owned by the Saudi royal government or the Saudi royal family.
that's
So
right.
it gives it a
That's right.
lot
So
of backbone.
how much slower? Well, how much slower? I mean, these guys could swipe a pen and fill another $6 billion in market cap worth of innovation sales or some crazy catalyst, right? So
Right.
it's like it's nothing to the Saudi royal family when you're talking about trillions of dollars, a $6 billion company that they're backing that is in a way a hedge against their oil market, right? So the bigger the threat that it becomes to the oil market, the bigger this company is going to become. Is the oil market in threat right now? Probably not, because there's war looming and all kinds of political instability. But is it going to slowly grow? Yeah, probably. And where do you see the bottom? Well, maybe 6 billion, maybe 3 billion. We're gonna see. We'll probably, hopefully, cover this for the rest of the year on your show, and hopefully get it right the whole time.
Yeah, great. So we only have one more stock, and
Sure.
it's our little pet favorite here, Greenland Tech, which nobody knows about except us, but it's G-Tech. And this is a small stock, and we used to joke about the Greenland effect on here because they came on the show and the stock went up 30%.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty big deal, but I think they've come back down to earth a little bit,
Yeah.
but they are a solid money-making little company that's in the EV space that does not look like a $2 stock.
Oh
That's
no,
what's
G Tech.
crazy.
It's holding. It's cratering though.
Yeah, go
It's
figure.
holding my line. It's holding my line here. So G Tech, unfortunately, it's below where I would want to buy it. So if
Yeah.
I had bought G Tech here, no, no, no. If you had listened to me before and you maybe seen it covers around, I think where I would have called this call out would have been about 2 weeks ago. So anywhere's in this zone here between 250 and here. This is where you would be holding on for dear life. Okay. And this is where you would be a believer in this company. Now, I personally believe this will hold. Okay. This will hold. This will be okay. I know that they have an earnings report coming up. Last time you told me was 28th. That was yesterday. Did they report? Today. Did they report?
Is it? Let me see here. It must be after hours. It must be, but they're Eastern time, and it would be 7 o'clock there. So
Uh, Let me see. It was this. I'm not very familiar with Trading View. Uh, I mean, they only traded 14,000 shares today, and earnings here estimated. No, that's only an estimate. There was no. Maybe if I go to CEO, give me a second here. G-Tech.
when they came on the show, they were about the same price they are now, and then they shot up.
mm,
Oh well, I'm not
I
terribly
really
worried
can't
about
tell.
this one. I don't think I'm going to lose any money on this.
I mean, honestly, well, I think honestly I think they'll hold where they are. Again, my biggest thing, David, is that they're $30 million market cap. So as I've told you before, where the liquidity is so dry, and it's only like 14,000, shares of liquidity, like 30 grand or $40,000 of liquidity a day. It makes it very, very difficult to be able to move or trade the stock because, like I said, the vultures will try to short it because it has no news. So what they'll do is they'll keep snooping around to make sure that there's no news, no catalysts, no super
Right?
activity or super buying that's going to go on, and they just naked short it down. The CEO had a problem with this before, right? He came on your show,
Yep.
as you told me, and he had a problem with naked shorting. So when unfortunately you're like an EV company, your catalysts are not super lined up in terms of revenue on a constant basis, you're going to get this kind of action from the market. But I think they'll survive right here. I think they'll be okay.
All right. Well, that's all we got for today. And folks, we
Awesome.
appreciate you watching, and please leave us a comment. Let us know if there's some stock you'd like us to cover next week. And Adib, as always, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. And hopefully, we'll eventually get a little better at our consistency on here. But folks, we're going to go ahead and end the stream. Thanks for watching.